This is Carl Tichenor speaking, and it is a pleasure for me to do this brief interview with Esther Gilbert. She's the CEO of Holistic Choices and author of True Health Mastery, Transform Your Health, Change the World. And Esther, as you know, in my role as a collegiate cross-country and track and field coach, I remember how fortuitous it was that we had the opportunity to meet and both agree on the critical role that proper nutrition plays for optimal performance by my athletes, but not just in competition, but in practice sessions as well. And again, as you know, subsequent to that first meeting, it was a no-brainer for me to bring you on board my coaching staff as our nutritional physiologist. But over the past 3 years, my athletes and I have benefited greatly from your knowledge and your input in terms of our nutritional habits. And my sense is that this kind of information that you communicate and instruct to us in this regard can be easily applied for anyone, not just athletes, but anyone who wants to maximize their health, vibrancy in every aspect of their lives. Well, with that said, and with the few minutes that we have to interview together, I'd like to ask you a couple of questions that you can address for the benefit of your audience, and I will start with this. As you know, we live in a time where we're just bombarded with all kinds of advice on healthy living through television infomercials, internet blogs, advertising, tweets, you name it. How does the average consumer begin to separate fact from fiction, hype from truth, when it comes to really wanting to get their health and nutrition right?
I love that question. It's a great question. Thank you for having me. First of all, we have to get back to the science, to the established credibility of the true science of our own nutritional physiology. And when you start from the very foundation of the micro level of where your health is determined and learn a little bit about that, then everything else you can recognize as being advertising hype, advisors who are trying to be nutritional physiologists or nutritional healing specialists, things like that. So people really have to go back a little bit and just, let's rewind. Let's look at what's going on inside of our bodies and learn a little bit about that. When you do that, you'll start to recognize things for what they really are. You'll be able to separate fact from fiction.
Excellent, and that's critical to people today. And with that said, tell me a little bit about your background. What I know you've studied a long time. I'm going to talk a little bit about a book you've just recently read and written and published. How did you get to this point where you are definitely an authority on nutrition?
Well, it started way back in 1979 when I switched my major from photography to nutrition. I just discovered my passion back then. And I just dove right in. I started taking courses for clinical dietetics, but then I started realizing that, wait a minute, we're not really healing the human body with nutrition, which is what my impression was based on my grandfather, who was a medical practitioner in Arizona. So I guess I kind of inherited that interest from him. But when I went back to college and I started learning clinical dietetics, I was kind of also at the same time gathering my own experience in the fitness field and applying a lot of the nutritional concepts to myself and in my own health. And then I started helping coworkers, and I started helping other students and family, things like that. And I started seeing the transitions, the transformations in their health. So that really fueled my interest even further. And when I decided to start my family, I could not pursue the college goals as feverishly as I had before, so I took some time off and started raising my family. But I still missed that subject. I just really wanted to keep studying it. So I found a holistic college that offered distance online programs, and I went ahead and studied that, and I acquired my bachelor's and master's degrees in holistic nutrition. When I started my practice, I just started doing a lot of research in the scientific literature to kind of pull out the healing aspects of whole foods, and discovered a whole new world that my traditional college just wasn't teaching. So when I combined the holistic training with my traditional training, I found I had much more success in helping my clients transform their health. And then I finished off finally years later once my kids were more grown, with a nutrition science degree from an accredited university.
And that's interesting. Obviously, your background, it shows quite formidably in your book, True Health Mastery. And one of the reasons I bought it was because I felt I had a responsibility to my athletes to really understand that aspect of my training regimen, nutrition, so they could perform better. But what I've learned through your work is you've done the work for us based on 3 decades of research and your passion and your understanding of all the things that impact the truths or maybe half-truths or false truths about nutrition really come out in this book. What motivated you to write True Health Mastery?
Well, just exactly that, Carl. What I did was I noticed that when I did one-on-one consultations with clients, I would sit down with them for six hours at a time and literally reteach them how to eat and literally teach them all about their own human body. And I would compile a thick manual for them to take home with them to review whenever they needed to. So it was a health reference manual. But at the same time, they many times would fall away from the training that they received with me, and they didn't have time to review the reference manual that I gave them. So, people get busy with their lives and they get distracted, especially with all the other input that's out there on the internet now especially, and other wannabes that are pretending like they are health advisors when they really don't have the credentials or the training or the research behind them. So with this unique combination of circumstances that I have fortunately acquired, the education, the holistic and the traditional education, the really digging deep into the scientific research and coming up with things that were actually not really available to the public, but the scientific literature does explain that, yes, nutrition can heal the body. So I wanted to teach my clients this, but the information was so scattered that I needed to put it all in one place. So I went ahead and I decided I have to write the book. I have to write it, and I have to include not just information about their own nutritional physiology and all about the vast science of nutrition, but also the other causal factors that contribute to the disease process. Most people are in the disease process because they don't have this information, they don't have this training. So I felt it was really something that was truly needed in the population in the world to, hey, let's get back to the science, the real science, and learn what's going on at the micro level so that we can make the corrections necessary and not live toxic lives. We're exposed to a lot of toxic chemicals in the environment and all the products that we use. There's countless chemicals that we're exposed to that are disrupting hormones, diminishing our brain and nervous systems, just clogging up the organs and the circulatory systems. A lot of people don't realize that there are more things that are causing these problems than just nutrition alone.
As a coach, and as bringing you as part of my coaching team as a nutritional physiologist, obviously I had the luxury of having you available as a resource anytime I wanted. But when I realized through your book that valuable information I could reference anytime, and what I like about it, and you might want to speak a little bit about this, is that you offer a lot of practical advice. I mean, for example, even as a father with my own children, how do you go into a supermarket and really know through reading the ingredients, because you're really trying to do well by your family, and then, of course, in my case, also as a coach for my athletes, what is the right thing? What should we be looking for? And one of the things your book brings out is how to practically do that. And again, it's a great resource. And I don't know if you'd like to elaborate a little bit on that as an aid, and I'll talk a little bit further about how people can access your website for further information as well.
Okay, great. Yes. There are so many toxic chemicals that are put into our products that we use. And they do get absorbed through the skin, they do get absorbed into the bloodstream, and they do alter the way our bodily functions operate and the way our cells replicate and all of that. So we have to protect our DNA. So yes, we have to practice true health. And true health management means being aware of all of these factors that are diminishing our health. Now, as far as the reading labels at the grocery stores, my goodness, you have to practically be a scientist to have studied all these chemicals. There are some really good resources that you can go to, and you can find a lot of those. If you go through my website and you sign up for my free online magazine, the True Health Journal, then I will be providing articles there that will help you distinguish between what's toxic and what isn't, and what's whole and what's a partial, food or processed food or a toxic food. All these different pieces of information that you get piecemeal on the internet or from some person who purports to be a nutritional or health advisor. They're just not qualified. They don't have the intense years of research or the right combination of scientific education and holistic education. You have to integrate so many things nowadays in order to have a full health picture of your own health. So learning how to read labels is one thing that I do bring up in the book. So that's one thing that you have to be aware of, all the toxic chemicals, and to make the choices that make the difference and sway entire industries. Companies will jump to make and manufacture and sell to you whatever you want to buy. So we have a lot of empowerment there. We make the choices. We're making choices out of innocence from lack of information of things that are actually causing our bodies to become in a disease process or to be victims of the disease process. And we don't have to do that. With a little bit of education, a little bit of reading. I know a lot of people don't have time to read anymore, but it's so critical to be able to do that. You can't always get it in a 10-minute video. You can't always get this information. You have to really find the time to save your own life and to just read a little bit. Even 10-15 minutes a day will make a difference in saving your life. And I'm hoping that the True Health Journal that I'm about to launch very soon will help you do that. So reading labels is extremely important to protecting your health.
And again, it's just one aspect of what you do. You're a valuable resource. And as we close, why don't you offer your audience your website and how they might be able to get a hold of True Health Mastery, and we'll wrap up the interview. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, sure. My website is www.holisticchoices.com.